So that's the end of that conversation right
Yeah,
now.
we'll talk about later.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, we got recording started, and Mary, I'm about to start the webinar here. We'll open it up to the public.
Okay.
And I think we're just missing Tim and Eric. I don't know if they're still planning on to be here.
I think Eric is probably at the redistricting meeting because I know he was I think he had a map to present.
Oh,
Oh, yes, he did. Yeah,
all right.
a good map.
Eric, I'm going to turn over the controls to you.
So do I need to let people in, or are they automatically in if they show up?
No, we've got 13 attendees right now that are and if Tim or Eric come in and weren't able to find their panelist link, they may come into the attendees, and from there you can just click the more and allow them to become, and then you just make them a panelist.
Okay, well, we'll work it out if we need to.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Jason.
You got it. You guys have a good meeting.
Thank you.
Mary, I just made you host.
Okay, thank you. I feel very powerful now. Okay, welcome to the Lower Russian River Municipal Advisory Council MAC Land Use Standing Committee on November 22nd. In accordance with the Executive Order N2520 and N2920 regarding the Brown Act for public meetings during the public health emergency, the River MAC Land Use Standing Committee meetings shall be held virtually. Meetings are on Zoom, links below, and after the event, videos are available on Facebook and YouTube. So at this point, it is 5:32, and we'd like to call the meeting to order. And we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I guess I will lead that. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I will do a roll call. Kyra Wink,
I'm here.
Mike Nichols,
Present.
and Nick Pereira.
Here.
Okay, it's all yours, Kyra.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Welcome, everybody, to another wonderful Land Use Committee meeting. We're going to go over the agenda. We'll need an approval of the agenda. Does everybody have a copy that they can look through? And are there any questions or concerns?
I move that we approve the agenda as is written. Oh, public comment. Sorry.
Shall we ask for public comment to the agenda, Mary?
Yeah.
Okay. So any public comment?
I don't see any hands raised or anything. Do you?
I don't see any chat.
All right.
Then I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Do we
Okay.
need to,
And a roll call vote, Kyra,
yay?
Mike,
Yes.
and Nick.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, moving along. Is there any conflict of interest that anybody needs to speak to regarding the agenda items? Okay. And we don't need to open that up for public comment, do we? It's just conflict of interest of anybody on the board, yeah?
Just for the board.
Correspondence. I am not aware of any since September. Mary?
No.
All right. Consent calendar. We have the September 27th Land Use Committee meetings for approval. Any comments from our board or our subcommittee?
I have no comments.
None.
Is there any public comment over the meeting minutes? Okay. Do we need to motion to approve these?
We do.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
And I second the motion.
Hey, Kyra,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
thank you.
All right, moving along. So calendar items, number one, we have permits and projects of interest, and we have, I think Dave and Tim here to talk about the project Home Key and George's Hideaway.
Okay, it looks, there is a conflict with the redistricting meeting that's happening. So we may not have, oh, we have Eric, but we may not have Tim Miller. He looks like he's not here yet. Dave Kipp is here.
Want me to go ahead and begin?
Sure, Dave, thank you.
Hi there. It's nice to meet everybody. My name is Dave Kiff. I'm the interim executive director of the Community Development Commission here in Sonoma County. And on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, we're coordinating 3 different Project Home Key projects in the county. But know that there's probably another 5 or 6 more being coordinated by cities. The key with Project Home Key, I'll back up a tiny bit, is that the state has put forth $1.4 billion for Project Home Key, and basically it is a program whereby local governments with community partners can apply for funding to repurpose older or closed or even operable and well-run motels and hotels. And also it's been broadened to include commercial buildings, apartment buildings and the like, to transition those, reuse those into places for permanent supportive housing or interim housing for people coming out of homelessness. So certainly, as the river area is aware, homelessness is a concern in the river area and the rest of the county. And we've worked with Supervisor Hopkins, Chair Hopkins, and with Tim Miller's group, West County Community Services, and identified George's Hideaway as a possible location for a Project Home Key project. So what we've done is we've gone ahead and made an offer to the owners. They have accepted it. It's contingent upon Project Home Key funding. And that this project would renovate the lodge so that the first story of the lodge would be used for services for the people who would live there, as well as an office space for West County Community Services. Small kitchen in the bottom of the lodge as well, but upstairs would be probably 6 single room occupancy rooms with actually we were just redoing that a little bit. They may have small kitchenettes per room. And then there's a current duplex building on the site, and that would be renovated into 2 apartments. One would be the manager's apartment for the 24/7 management. The other would be potentially another unit of permanent supportive housing. And then in addition to those, so that's 7 so far, right? 7 and 1. We put up to 14 or 15 modular tiny homes on the location. It's 2.04 acres. And those modular tiny homes would also be places where folks coming out of homelessness could stay for a period of time. Permanent supportive housing could be the last stop for someone. They could reside there a very long time. The goal, though, is to stabilize folks who are coming off the street or out of shelter, get their home and mental health and physical health situation stabilized with wraparound services. So it's very service intensive. The proposal that we're putting forward with Tim does involve extensive support services for the folks who would live there. And then again, some may move on to market rate housing, some may move on to affordable housing elsewhere once they get stabilized. So that's the proposal. It's we're about to submit our application to the state. This 1.4 million will go quickly. It's kind of first come, first serve. We're a little bit behind already because I know many places have got their applications in already, but we're confident that there will be enough funds to accomplish this project. And again, there's a tiny home use and there's a reconstruction of the lodge use. I will note that if we were to acquire this quickly, we have a vision with Tim of putting a different type of shelter on there, a shelter structure on there. They're called quick havens. You probably read about them. They're made in Roanoke Park, constructed by people who are coming out of homelessness. So in other words, we would use the site temporarily. If we owned it while the lodge is being renovated, we would be able to house people there fairly quickly in the quick haven shelters. And those quick havens are kind of like what we use out at Los Gilicos Village in the Sonoma Valley. You still have the same services, but these quick havens then, once the lodge was done, would be replaced with the more long-term tiny home concept. Quick havens don't have restrooms, they don't have kitchens, but the tiny homes would. So I apologize, it's a little confusing. Think of it as a short-term use and then the long-term permanent use. And I'll stop there and certainly welcome your questions and input.
Thank you. I did have a couple of questions. First off, you in the introductory portion of the presentation, you mentioned that WCCS would have offices there. Are they transferring their offices from the old Bank of America building to George's Hideaway?
No, that's not Tim's vision. It's a place where a staff member could come and serve the folks there while still kind of staying close to the mothership where they are now.
Very good. That was just a point of clarification. I wasn't really sure what you were saying. And secondly, there's originally when we looked at George's Hideaway about 5 or 6 years ago for transitional housing and so forth, we had a problem with the fact that the sewer did not extend to the property. And I understand that a septic system has been installed on the property, but I'm wondering if we have 14 or 15 tiny homes plus the apartments, is the current septic system consistent with county code to support that number of toilets?
Our intent actually, and I didn't explain this clearly, is to hook up to the sewer system. Home Key does allow the funding for that. You can do site improvements in addition to renovation and the modular unit. So our intent is to make this fully sewered.
So if that's the case, we're looking at about a year down the road at least before there could be any occupancy because of the fact of permitting requirements for extending the sewer, and of course then the construction time, which would have to take place following the winter season, I would assume.
We'll see how that goes. We do think we could start with the interim occupancy quicker. We'd bring in a trailer that was the restroom and shower trailer, and that would involve a different waste distribution.
So that would be self-contained waste that would be brought to a transfer station, I assume.
That's right, or a pumper truck would come in and clean it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think that concludes the questions I have at this point.
Okay, Kyra, should I go in? Oh,
Nick,
I have a question.
go ahead, Nick.
What outreach to the neighbors have you done?
Outreach to the Guerneville community or the neighbors around George's Hideaway?
Specifically the neighbors around George's Hideaway, the Montesano neighborhood.
We have not done anything beyond what our discussions that have been in the paper and in the Guerneville local news.
And will there be 24-hour access, and therefore lighting, etc.? And will those will that lighting be current with the new lighting guidelines that the county's putting in?
We haven't designed the lighting system yet. And as to 24/7 access, you won't be able to drop in the middle of the night. It'll have controlled access for the residents who reside there, and for someone who would start to reside there, they would have to be booked into they couldn't just wander on in.
And hi, this is Kyra. Nick, did you have anything more? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. No, not at this point.
Okay, and then you talked about the funding. So an offer has been made and accepted, and now you'll put in the application to the state, or what other funding do you have to secure?
So the state funding is the major funding, and it's competitive, as I noted. In fact, it's broken down by regions, and our understanding is the Bay Area region in which we reside is oversubscribed. So there's a lot of excitement for Project Home Key in the Bay Area, obviously. So that amount of funding, if we don't get it, we couldn't pursue the project. We couldn't pursue the extent of the project. There is, if we're able to do it, we do put forth a small capital match. As if Chair Hopkins were here, she'd note that she's reserved funds for some type of homeless services shelter in the Russian River area. And this is, we'll use some of those funding as our local capital match.
Thank you. Yes, Mike.
Forgive me, I forgot one question. 6 years ago, again, when we considered George's Hideaway, there was a concern regarding transportation of clients to and from town. And I know that WCCS does have a van, but my concern is that sometimes folks in recovery tend to slip, and they tend to leave the recovery process and want to walk to town. And my concern is that we're dealing with a busy highway and with little or no shoulder access for pedestrians. And how are we going to face that situation if someone decides they have to leave or want to leave in an off hour when the van is not available? Will transportation be available to drop them off somewhere so that they're not walking along the highway?
So I know that is something that Tim is working on closely, and he's not here to answer that question, and I apologize for that. I know something must have come up for Tim, but that it will be part of our operational plan to make sure that people are safe all the time. And again, I don't say that dismissively. I really appreciate what you're saying. It's just that Tim's the expert on this.
Correct. Thank you very much. I'm sorry he's not here, but I appreciate your answer and your concern as well. Thank you.
One more question to follow on. I should have asked this initially. Do you have any plans to do neighborhood outreach, to do a listening session with residents and homeowners in the area?
We will need to do that again, assuming we secure the grant. We can do that as the application's in. I do, respectfully look to Tim and Tim's group to advise us on that. I'm just a county person, so but yes, the outreach is always important. And just so you know, I have participated, again, not in the immediate neighborhood, but in each one of Supervisor Hopkins' town hall meetings on homelessness, which is why I think we've been fairly pointed in this direction of George's Hideaway. That doesn't negate the need for more neighborhood outreach, though, as you're suggesting.
No, I'm just going to follow up. It's like, we did have this discussion. You may not have been part of it several years ago, and the general consensus was against George's Hideaway. So this is not fresh ground for some of us.
Understood. I think one of the challenges that we all face, no matter where we are in the county, is that we need housing for persons coming out of homelessness. Most of the folks want to stay in the region that they grew up in or that's familiar to them and that's providing them services. So I'm in my department, the Community Development Commission, again, we're working on 9 of these projects. So it's not like any one area of the county is being unfairly burdened, if that's the term, by uses like this, but we do need to find a use like this in the river area.
All right, if there's no other questions or comments from the committee, we have some questions and answers I see. Robin J says, hi, will the homeless service center currently on 3rd and Church be moved to Georgia's? I think that was answered correctly. They will have an office there for a remote person to go back and forth.
That's right.
And then Mark says Georgia's Hideaway is not within the boundaries of the Russian River Sanitation District. It's not just running a pipe.
Understood.
And then Robin J asked again, is this a clean and sober housing project?
So under the rule, actually, not just policy, I've got a dog playing behind me. Under the what's called the housing first principle, which is common in homelessness, you typically would operate a low barrier facility, meaning people are not allowed to use drugs on site or alcohol on site, but we use a harm reduction model typically in how we deal with folks who do. They're not immediately kicked out because then they're just homeless again. So the housing first model says get a roof over people's heads and work with them to get them into recovery, address the behavioral and other physical health issues that may relate to their substance use disorder. So it's not a clean and sober housing project per se, but again, this will be up to Tim's group to make rules about using while they're on the premises. But it won't be a facility that you have to stay sober your entire life while you're there.
Can you hear me now? All right. That's all the questions I see currently in the Q&A. Is there anything else you see, Mary, that I don't see? Now you're muted.
You covered them all. Thank you.
All right. So if there's no more questions, I think we can move on. Dave, thank you so very much.
I appreciate everybody's time and the good questions and listening. Thank you.
Hold on. I just want to interject here. It seemed like about half of the questions we had as a group were not able to be answered because Tim wasn't here. I really think we need to revisit this project when Tim is available, because there's a lot of unanswered questions that I really think should have been addressed in this meeting that we weren't able to.
Okay.
I take the questions that were listed and answer them and send that back to you.
Thank you.
Happy to do that.
Nick,
No, I'd actually prefer Tim here.
we have another question that popped up from Lucy Hardcastle. What are the plans for ongoing funding?
So the county as a whole, the Board of Supervisors back at the end of October adopted a funding plan for various home key projects, including this one, that involves the use of housing vouchers. It involves the use of Measure O funds. Remember, Measure O is the countywide sales tax for homelessness housing. It also utilizes other state funding called HAP, or Homeless Housing Assistance Program. We built a funding model that provides for the revenue that would pay for the supportive services up to $80 per person per day, which is about the rate that this one will require. And we can handle 230 beds countywide at the rate.
Wow, that's great. All right, so we can talk about next agenda items and whether to get Tim on board, but Dave, if you could at least follow up with the questions that were asked with
I'd be happy to
Tim,
do that.
that'd be great.
Yeah. Thank you all again.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, moving on. We have, under permits and projects of interest, we have B, which is PLP 16-0054, which refers to the park in downtown Forestville. George McDaniels gave me an update. She said, and I'm going to just read this because it's easier for me to do that. The project was revised due to the discovery of wetlands on the property. The revised site plan and project description recently went out for referral to different agencies and organizations. After the application is deemed complete, a CEQA document will have to be prepared and circulated for a 30-day public review and comment period. So, any questions? That's the update that Georgia McDaniels gave me. Any comments from the board on that?
No, I think we'll have to just revisit that sometime in the future.
Yeah, we'll keep it
After
on.
CEQA, yeah.
Yeah, we'll certainly keep it on our list to review. Any other comments?
None for me.
I do not see any questions at the moment from outside of our subcommittee. Oh, wait. Whoop, whoop. Please, so Mark says, please pass along the answers that will be coming in from Tim Miller to the public who are also, whoops. Where'd it go? Oh, it went away. We will pass on the comments from Tim. Lucy says, are there any questions about this project? Which project? I'm not quite sure, Lucy. And then Vesta says, does a future hotel on the adjacent property have a timeline? Is this specific to the Forestville Downtown Park? I'm confused.
Well, I know that Lucy is with the Forestville Planning Association, and this is the downtown park is a project that she has been shepherding.
Uh-huh.
So that's why she asked if there are any questions.
Oh, she's asking us if we had any questions. I get it. I don't at this time. Nick or Mike, do you?
No, I'm excited to see it go forward and just hope all the permitting and CEQA stuff gets in line.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks wonderful. And I'm not sure what hotel Vesta is talking about.
Well, she wrote yes, Forestville, so Vesta, you'll have to clarify what you mean. I'm not aware of a hotel.
Yeah, I'm not aware of a hotel next to it either. Okay. I'm going to move forward. Under permits and projects of interest, we have CPLP 210020, which is a Guerneville food truck washout area. And this was proposed, so the site location is the old lumber yard that's right there by the Guerneville Bridge, owned by Jerry, or the property owner's Jerry Knight. And so it looks like request for a use permit and an administrative design review for a food truck washout station to be located within an existing remodeled 2,300 square foot building located on the former Guerneville lumber site. 159 square foot washout station will be used to clean out 3 food trucks in the evening hours. No other food truck maintenance or repair will occur on the site. The trucks will be parked on the site within the same building as the washout station. The washout station will be equipped with a hot water heater, sinks, and exterior subgrade grease trap used for cleaning out food trucks on a daily basis. No other modifications to the site are proposed other than installation of a roll-up door on the washout station bay and repainting of the existing structure and installation of 2 exterior lights. Hours of operation will be 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m., 7 days a week. The washout station will employ 2 to 3 part-time employees, and no additional structures are proposed to be constructed. An existing detached restroom will be available for employees. Any comments or questions about this project? Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really great idea and a good use for the property. I do have a question about the lighting. Again, you know, there are homes in the area, especially up on the hill behind it. So I would want reassurances that the lighting would be downcast and appropriately such that it's not going to cause a lot of, you know, glow or backsplash against the homes in the area.
My only comment is that the grease trap be cleaned on a regular basis and that the grease or oil be removed from the property site so that there's not a large accumulation.
My other question is, it states in the permit that no storage of hazardous materials are going to be stored on site, but those trucks, if they're parked there, generally have both gasoline and I believe propane tanks. So that is another concern as well.
I wonder, where do they park the trucks now, I wonder?
My understanding is that this is started at a request from the Guerneville taco truck and that family. They have multiple trucks going different directions, and so you've seen those trucks parked around town quite a bit, and they were looking for someplace close by where they could service and take care of them.
Is that the one that's in the Safeway parking lot?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They actually used to have a space behind what it will soon be Saucy Mamas that they use, but they no longer have access to that, if I'm correct. And they did a really good job of keeping that clean. They were respectful of the neighbor. I mean, they had people living right on top of it. So, you know, their track record on running this is pretty good.
Yeah, that's what reassured me as well.
Good to know. All right. Do we have any comments from anybody else? I see Vesta talked about this might be based on the other stuff about I don't know how to say, the Bartolome family hotel plan for the other section of the property. Oh, so there must be I didn't know this, but a hotel may be planned for another section next to the park in Forestville. I have to check into that. Vesta, I will check with you offline about that. Robin J says, got to run, but want to thank you all for your transparency and for your service to our community. Vesta then says again, does the lighting comply with 1 lumen requirement by county and lit down, not up, if there's a sound factor to consider? I'm not sure, but I think you're talking about the cleanouts station that we were just talking about.
I'm pretty sure, and she's basically echoing what I'm saying is just, you know.
Yeah. All right, so that's in process. Moving along to D, PLP 19-0018. Design for, I gotta put my glasses on to read this. Getting old, you guys. It's not just the hair. Design review for the gas station mixed use in Guerneville. Planner is Derek Michelson. So in process, it's going back to the design review committee. Number of items identified that need to be addressed by the DRC at a prior meeting. Once they get a positive recommendation from the DRC, the project will proceed with completing an environmental review and get back on track, noticing of the association use permit for the single-use occupancy units. So it's kind of, they have to kind of answer some of these questions that came up in the meeting. And until they do so, it's just kind of there right now. It's not moving forward until they get a response back. Any questions, comments? I don't see any new questions or answers. So going on to number 2, updates on permits and projects of interest. So A is PLP 18-0012. I'll just say that Eric reached out to all of us on the land use committee, and we met with the Locke group, the developer and the owner, etc. And we met on site to review the layout of the hotel and asked several questions, brought up concerns that the community he brought to all of us, and had a discussion. And then it went to the zoning committee. Eric felt strongly that he had not had time to be able to digest the large amount of information that came out about it, particularly since there had been a recent storm and outage that kind of didn't let anybody use their computers. And so I'll let Eric give us an update. Eric, I think I see you on there. I don't see your wonderful, handsome face, but I do see your name there. Are you with us?
I am with you. Thank you for that extraordinarily generous, albeit questionable judgment characterization.
Oh, come on now.
Appreciated nonetheless. Basically, I don't have anything more to report than you just summarized. I'm trying to, something came up recently that's distracted me. Let's see, what is that? Whether or not we're going to start holding meetings in Roanoke Park, I guess. So yeah, so it's going to come back to the for public hearing in February, and you know, between now and then, I expect I'll have time to really deep dive into the material and probably have a number of other conversations with people. I want to make sure I, you know, that I cover the folks next door, and then just, you know, other conversations that might come up. And I, you know, I think there'll be all kinds of details that will come up once I see, you know, once we get into the staff report that's already been issued and the proposed conditions and so forth. But for me, I think the biggest question that I'm grappling with is to try and get a sufficient sense from the community of not whether or not there should be some sort of resort there, given the zoning and the history, but whether the scale and the scale of the project matches up well, not just with the site, but with the community. And, you know, that I'm still attempting to grapple with. And actually any conversation you all would like to have while we're together, or if there are people watching on that matter, it would be, you know, it would be a good use of whatever time you want to allocate to this subject.
Yeah, we've had substantial feedback from a lot of different people, for and against. So it is a hot topic, and I'm hopeful that those that reached out to us in September do attend the zoning committee. And as soon as you know the date on that, if you can get back to me, Eric, so I can publish it out so people can attend. There you are. And so any comments from the committee? Questions or comments? Michael?
My only comment is that I'm really thankful, Commissioner Conishafer, that you allowed us to join you and spend time. We spent over 2.5 hours walking through the property, looking at the stakes, looking at where the proposed buildings would be located, determining which trees would have to be removed or trimmed. And we had a lot of questions answered by the owners and the developers. I felt it was one of the most worthwhile experiences that I've had as a member of the MAC over the last 3 years. It was, this is what it's about. We were actually out there and participating, and Eric, it wouldn't have happened without you. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. And to that point, as the future unfolds, I would expect that probably we should take the opportunity to, to make our position clear that it shouldn't be a one-off and it shouldn't be an unusual circumstance, but especially on a big project like this, getting that input, I think it's critical to understand it and to give voice to everybody that is interested. And because there's so many different dimensions to a project like this. And one of the things I keep thinking about the current redistricting debate, is this long history. In fact, I have to share a story with you guys that I'm still stunned by this. It happened yesterday. So, the little coffee shop in the town of Bodega across from the Casino Bar and Grill, it is a frequent stop for me. And I'm just kind of easing back into it as we're, because for a substantial period of time, I didn't venture out very much. So a couple of the old duffers that I engage out there all the time, they go frequently to the flea market at the Santa Rosa Vets building on Sunday morning. They go quite early because they're both collectors and they like to see if there's anything of interest. So they showed up yesterday morning having returned, and one of them presented me with a pressed Democrat, and it was just see, November 26, 1963. The headline was redistricting, Board of Supervisors moves on redistricting, Santa Rosa now, 5th district moves toward Santa Rosa. So it's just this funny thing. And it was front page, top of the fold, 4 days after President Kennedy was assassinated, which, taking note, was today, 58 years ago, I think. So it was really interesting, and quite a coincidence that they had just stumbled across this woman that had a big box of old pressed Democrats that she was selling for $2 a copy. So I'm looking at it, and there's a little box on the front page that says that the coverage of the redistricting will be continued in tomorrow's edition, where they will present maps showing the current districts and the new districts. And I thought, oh, dang, all this excitement about these articles and the coverage, but I don't get to see the maps. So on a lark, I drove to Santa Rosa to the flea market, found the woman, flipped through her newspapers, and found the next day's issue of the Press Democrat with the maps. So that was 1963. The then current district boundaries had been adopted, since you're all sitting down, I won't warn you to, in 1884. So from 1884 to 1963, the districts were defined, that 79-year period, and there was no one person, one vote then, and which is why this redistricting was happening at that time, because there was the article reports there's a threat of a lawsuit. So, it's like Back to the Future. Anyway, it's very interesting, but one of the things that I keep pondering is, what would it be like if our future holds that have actually, roughly half at the outset, but very quickly, obviously, Rohnert Park increases population at a rate that far exceeds the rest of what would be the 5th district. So it wouldn't take but a couple of years before the majority of the population of the 5th district lived within the city limits of Rohnert Park. And as has been noted, that's not a hit on Rohnert Park, because Rohnert Park is expressed in very clear terms. They're no more interested in being in the 5th district than many of us are in having it in the 5th district. So anyway, that's thinking about these details and the voice of unincorporated communities. That's why I'm engaged in that issue in such an aggressive way, because I think my take on it is, it's just not only does it threaten the unincorporated areas of our district, but it diminishes the influence of unincorporated areas throughout the county. And that's a constant problem that increases as the success of our land use policies unfold over time, because we've directed the growth into the 101 corridor, into the cities where there's infrastructure. And the consequence of that is an ever higher percentage of the population of the county residing in cities. And as we all know, this kind of conversation, no matter which city you live in, takes place before the city council and the city staff, not the county. So it'll be interesting to see how it all turns out. And in the meantime, we'll just keep paying attention to the details while we can.
Eric, thank you. And by the way, I liked your map for redistricting. But I'm going to pull us back over to the Lock Gurnwood Park development here. I do see a couple comments that came up in question and answer. Lexus says, I think that this is an important development in the lower river area and look forward to hearing the details you are pursuing to make sure it uses the space in a premium and respectful way. Let's make it a brilliant destination that enhances our area, please. Mark says, is the developer still pursuing a zoning variance to permit a 53-foot high building when the fire district ladder lacks a ladder beyond 28 feet? Guerneville Fire sold a ladder truck that the original developer provided. Building beyond the 35-foot zoning code without the ability to reach it with a fire ladder will create a service demand the community cannot service. And Anna says, how is the developer going to get access to the Guerneville sewer system when no one else can get a connection?
In reverse order, I don't know what the specifics are about sewer connections, but I wouldn't be surprised if that property already has allocated capacity within the system, since it had been developed before, and it's the project has been around for quite a while. If it, the project would be limited by how much connection capacity. Is that feedback coming from me? I don't know. Okay. So that's it's an important point that's raised, and that the project, one of the externalities that would define the scope of the project would be how much sewage treatment capacity is available and allocated to that project. And I don't know, like I say, I don't know the history of where it stands currently. What was the second question? That was,
Had to do with pursuing his zoning variance to permit a
Right.
53-foot building with the
Yeah.
ladder, fire.
Fire, yeah. That's one of the first things I asked about, and one of the several issues of concern regarding the height of the building. One of those would be fire. And the very first conversation I had with when I came out the first time to meet on the property, I went in to get some coffee at Coffee Bazaar, and Supervisor Hopkins happened to be in there, coincidentally visiting with some fire folks about current fire issues. So we said hi, and what are you doing? And I said that I was out to visit the site, and I took advantage of the opportunity. I asked one of the personnel there from Guerneville, can you service a 53-foot high building? And he said no, but then subsequently, specific to this particular project, and this I'll verify in due course with fire officials, but and you all heard this when we were out there. The response of the applicant is that the construction material and just the whole design of the facility vis-a-vis fire and escape routes and whether material that's being constructed out of burns, et cetera, that fire officials apparently have said that that even though that they basically wouldn't envision a fire that would require a ladder truck. So, but like I say, it's one of those things, trust but verify. So that'd be fleshed out in the course of the process between here and the hearing, or during the hearing. And the first question was, you're muted.
It was just more of a comment that I think that this is an important development in the lower river area and look forward to hearing the details as you pursue it. Let's make a brilliant destination that enhances our area, please.
So I would, not that this is an all-encompassing answer or correct, accurate treatment of this project, but to put it in kind of a shorthand question, how much like Healdsburg does Guerneville want to be? That's kind of the, using tools that are available in our day-to-day routine, and people I think understand what the question means. That's of interest to me. It comes in the category that we see throughout the general plan that talks about community character. So, that's one of the things I'm trying to understand for my own edification. Muted still, Kyra.
My goodness, I hit that button, thought I was unmuted. There's another comment question that came in from Cynthia Strecker, who says, I too am concerned about the size of the project. It seems that most of the difficulties brought forward are exacerbated by the size. My question is whether or not the 53 height includes the 4 stories and the raised height due to flooding. Also, an ask, I would like to see a visual simulation rather than an architectural rendering. It's more realistic. Nick, did you have a concern or question? I saw your hand go up.
It was, and actually chimes pretty well into Cynthia's comment in that being out there and doing a walk, I was actually surprised at the size of it. And especially when we took it and we walked down to the riverbank and then looked up. And that was quite a large building. And then, so I agree that the concerns I have is not with the validity of a project like that on the site. It's simply the size and the scope of it. And I don't know if that's the right thing for that particular location.
Okay, I'm gonna move us along. We're coming down to 6:30 here pretty quick, and we got a couple other to review. Any other questions or comments? Oh, I see a couple more. Mark says respectfully, Cindy Foreman, Fire Marshal of Sonoma County District, was surprised to learn about the zoning variance for this project. They have no ladder truck. They have no plans to provide a ladder truck, and specifically mentioned that they have no facility to house or park a ladder truck and are looking for a new fire station. My concern is pursuing a zoning variance to go beyond the community standard of 35 feet. I'm not opposed to the project. I'm opposed to a project exceeding safety standards that create a demand we cannot overcome. And Lucy Hardcastle says, if we need tourist dollars and don't want to turn our neighborhoods into mini hotels via vacation rentals, then doesn't it make sense to accommodate that need?
Well, I would just say in response to that, and I don't have an answer to the question that I'll pose back, to accommodate our need. I don't know that, quote, our need has been sufficiently defined in terms of comprehensive consideration of what carrying capacity there is writ large for the river area, the coast, the West County. And, this thought line or line of thinking or question has come up in several conversations. And I don't know that there is a nexus between a project like this and how many vacation rentals there will be. I don't know that it quells the market demand for vacation rentals. I do know that, over and over and over throughout our community, there's this constant discussion about affordability of housing, availability of housing, availability of workforce housing. And, I don't feel like we have bore down on those questions in a way that it's kind of a unified analysis, because I don't subscribe to the idea that it's our community's duty to redefine itself in whatever meaning, to whatever degree necessary to accommodate external demand for vacation rentals or hotel motel units or what have you. There's a limit, and there's plenty of examples around not far from here where communities at some point realized they stepped over the line into an unsustainable tourist experience. And there's a point of diminishing returns where not only does it degrade the quality of life for people that live in an area, but it begins to degrade the quality of the experience for the visitors. And in my opinion, we haven't, as a county, as a community, engaged the full complexity of where is that line, and how do you measure it, how do you fashion project approvals so that they are within some rational analytical range of options.
Okay, Christopher says, I'm very concerned about the character of the awful size of the project. We don't need to transform our community, as Eric mentioned earlier. So there continues to be a lot of concern about the Dubrava or Loch Gernwood Park project. And I want to echo Mike Nichols' thanks to you, Eric, for having us out there to see it. I'm such a visual person that to see the stakes out there and to see the markings on the tree gave me a much more appreciation for the size of the project.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
So I do want to move us on. Thank you, Eric, for joining us and letting us know that it will be going back to the zoning committee, at least scheduled right now for February, and we'll keep track of that then. And like I said, if if it happens before our meeting, let's see, we're meeting now in November, December, so we'll meet in January again. So we'll have a chance to get an update in January from you.
Okay. And it's helpful for me. It's a good forum. And even though it might take some time, I suppose if I'm willing to spend the time to listen,
Really
you're
appreciate
willing
that.
to keep it on the agenda, there's no reason to cut it off before everybody's been heard. So nice Thanksgiving to all of you. Good evening.
I think we have one raised hand in our public participants.
Do we?
Christopher, I see.
Oh, okay, Chris? Can we unmute him or? There you go, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I sent my comment in as a written comment, and you just reiterated what I thought. I agree with Eric. I would not like to see the small town of Guerneville converted into a Healdsburg. If people want beautiful, large hotels, they should visit places like Healdsburg. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Sure.
All right, I'm going to move us on to updates on permits and projects of interest. The second one, B, UPE 21-0056. This is the timberland conversion, cutting down of trees and cultivation of cannabis. That is really stalled right now. We'll see if it comes back. They have to deal with some illegal tree removal and some other illegal activities that they have to answer to. So the project is not moving forward at this moment. And then C, PLP 21. Oh, were there any comments? I'm sorry, questions or comments about B, the timberland conversion? Just looking, just make sure there's nothing. Question answers. Okay. Let's go into C, PLP 21-003 Monterey gas station permit application. I reached out to Doug Bush, the planner, and he stated the gas station permit is incomplete. It doesn't meet the required zoning standards and is inconsistent with the general plan. For these reasons, we recommended that the applicant revise or withdraw their application. We received no response to our prior requests for additional information and will be canceling the permit by next week, we believe. So it may have been canceled by this week because that update was given to me a week or two ago. And any comments or questions on that one? D, PLP 20-0018 rezoning sites for housing. I spoke with Nina today, and I'm going to read what she said because it was very confusing trying to figure out all this stuff. But she said they were trying to get ahead of the curve by identifying the sites to rezone before and ahead of the housing. Okay, sorry, gotta put my glasses on. Can't read my writing. The housing element adoption, but the two project timelines kind of converged, and nothing will be adopted till 2022 or the end of 2022. So they will bring this back to the MAC, and they will coordinate with the Lower Russian River MAC to bring this back and talk to us about it. Any comments or concerns?
No comment at this time.
None for me.
All right. Are there any other items that anybody needs to bring up before we go towards adjournment? I see no comments from the public.
I move to adjourn.
And I second that motion.
All right, everybody. You want to do a roll call real quick?
Kyra, would you like to adjourn?
Sure, yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
it's a wrap.
There was one, wait a minute. Vesta says, please stay on top of the Rotten Robbie plans in Forestville. And Alexa says, question for you, with the ADA changes in Gordonville, can bike lanes be added? I know we officially have adjourned the meeting, but
I have a
Is there-
quick answer for Alexis. We
Yes.
brought that up during the presentation and did not get a positive response from Caltrans. We didn't get a no, but we didn't get anything that I would take as a positive reply to that.
all right. And Vesta, we will kind of we'll check into the Rotten Robbie plans in Forestville, see what those are about, and put those on the agenda for next time. And I want to thank everybody who participated as part of the committee. And Mary, thank you as always for your support. It is certainly makes my job a lot easier. I appreciate it. And thank you to all of you who joined us out there as attendees and your questions and comments. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you soon.